seems that people around the president, or his longtime associates, advisors, friends, are keeping a close watch on him right now. And one of them told me this morning that they feel this moment, because of how everything happened yesterday, it almost feels like when the special counsel was appointed following the president's firing of Jim Comey in 2017 at the FBI. The president at that point was so taken aback by the quick turn of events that he began to unleash expletives and fury.
Here's why I don't believe that. Because Friday night, one of President's oldest friends out in the Hamptons, one of the richest guys in New York, throws a big old fundraiser for the president. And who are the attendees? Not President Trump's base, forgotten Americans who finally feel hope. Very smart, successful, well-educated people were there toasting the president and his tax cuts. So here's why I don't believe that.
Well, the president, you're getting at an important point, Stephanie, which is the president himself continues to reiterate to his friends that he believes he's successful, that he believes he's under siege, that no one understands his own success. And so he feels the double-barrel stories of Manafort and Michael Cohen don't really get at the reality of his presidency. And he's repeating this to friends at fundraisers. He's repeating it to aides on Air Force One as he flies to rallies. But that doesn't mean this isn't still a president who watches cable news constantly and is unhappy with how everything's unfolding.
Alicia?
Yes, I just wanted to correct something that Evan mentioned. I did not miss a beat. I've litigated in federal courts across the state, from the Western District of New York, including the Southern District of New York. I did not say I'd be prosecuting for federal crimes. What I said is, as Attorney General, that I have the power on January 1 to prosecute any person, pardon or not, for violations of state law. Violations of state law. So I didn't miss a beat, and I just wanted to correct the record for your viewers, Stephanie.
One thing that's important is that the president can, in extremis, fire Bob Mueller, right? He can end that investigation, but he can't fire the...
He must be so good at Scrabble. In extremis. Felonious, extremis. Like, he must kill it at Scrabble.
I'm actually good at
I had a feeling.
Scrabble. But look, he can't fire the Southern District. This is why yesterday was so important. I think this was fundamental change in the momentum of the story. Okay, and people understand that paying hush money to a former Playboy model and porn actress just weeks ahead of an election that was decided by 70,000 votes is in fact material and important to them. I would add one more point, which is that someone should remind Lindsey Graham and every other Republican office holder who was in Congress in 1998.
Well, Mitch McConnell's in the turtle shell right now. It's hard to get to
where they stood on impeachment. I supported the impeachment of Bill Clinton in 98 because I think he had disgraced his office and he had committed perjury. I think it is consistent on conservatives and Republicans to support the same for President Trump now, given that the campaign finance violations are much graver, much more felonious.
Stevens, take my hand. You're looking for consistency. We're talking about politics.
I know. But nonetheless, Congress has an obligation, and it's why Democrats should be put in office in November.
Good luck to you, brother. He's looking for consistency in recovering politics.
There's one more thing playing out, especially in the midterms. You're seeing voters in poll after poll. The majority of the country wants Congress to be a hard check on the president. And in swing districts, only a quarter of those voters want the Congress to be subservient.
Wowzers. All right, we have to leave it there. Thank you. Great conversation. Next, it is not just Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen. We're going to go through the list, the growing list of guilty pleas Special Counsel Mueller has secured and what it means for President Trump.
It was here. I couldn't catch my breath.
It was the last song of the night. Felt like my heart was skipping beats.
They said I had AFib.
What's AFib?
I knew that meant I was at a greater risk of stroke.
I needed answers.
My doctor and I chose Xarelto
to help keep me protected from a stroke.
Once daily Xarelto, a latest generation blood thinner, significantly lowers the risk of stroke in people with AFib not caused by a heart valve problem. Warfarin interferes with at least 6 of your body's natural blood clotting factors. Xarelto is selective, targeting just one critical factor. For AFib patients well managed on warfarin, there is limited information on how Xarelto compares in reducing the risk of stroke. Don't stop taking Xarelto without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. Xarelto can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. It may increase your risk of bleeding if you take certain medicines. Get help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising. Do not take Xarelto if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. Before starting, tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures and any kidney or liver problems.
Learn all you can. can
to help protect yourself from a stroke.
Talk to your doctor about Xarelto. There's a reason criminals are on the dark web looking for your email, phone, and social security number. With them, they can access your personal information and steal your identity. Fight back with Experian. It's easy. Go to Experian.com/protect for a free dark web triple scan. We'll tell you if your social security number, phone, and email have been compromised, so you can act before a criminal can. Get your free dark web triple scan today at Experian.com/protect.
From the very beginning, it was always our singular focus, a distinct determination to do whatever it takes, use every possible resource to fight cancer, and never lose sight of the patients we're fighting for. Our cancer treatment specialists share the same vision. Experts from all over the world working closely together to deliver truly personalized cancer care. Specialists focused on treating cancer using advanced technologies and more precise treatments than before. Working as hard as we can, doing all that we can for everyone who walks through our doors. This is Cancer Treatment Centers of America, and these are the specialists we're proud to call our own. Treating cancer isn't one thing we do, it's the only thing we do. Expert medicine works here. Learn more at cancercenter.com. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Appointments available now.
Hey, Todd. Hey, Will. So, I think I got to get my roof repaired. You know anybody?
Yeah, actually I might.
Ah, great. Get me some additional quotes. Research the average price for the job in this area and book the job for 2 weeks from now. On a Wednesday. No, wait. Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday's better.
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and instantly book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
Home Advisor. I've been making blades here at Gillette for 20 years. There's a lot of innovation that goes into making America's #1 shave. Precision machinery and high-quality materials from around the world. Nobody else even comes close. Now starting at $7.99. Gillette, the best a man can get.
Welcome back. I'm Stephanie Rule. For a campaign whose rallying call was lock her up, a large number of people tied to this president or his campaign have found themselves in a heap of legal trouble. In October of 2017, George Papadopoulos became the first Trump campaign aide to plead guilty. He admitted to lying to the FBI about conversations with people directly tied to the Russian government. And now Papadopoulos faces more trouble. Robert Mueller said Papadopoulos has not offered substantial assistance to the investigation and suggested the former campaign aide serve up to 6 months in jail. 2 months later, in December of 2017, the president's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, also pleading guilty to lying to authorities about conversations he had with a Russian ambassador. And the plea deal marked the first senior White House official who cut a deal with the special counsel's investigation. Then in February, Paul Manafort's right-hand guy and a top campaign official, Rick Gates, he struck a deal with the special counsel. Gates pled guilty to conspiracy and, like the others before him, lying to the FBI. Which brings us to yesterday, when 2 of the president's closest confidants found themselves stamped with guilty titles. Paul Manafort on 8 counts of financial crimes, and Michael Cohen also pleading guilty to 8 counts, including campaign finance violations. And all of this doesn't even get into the 28 people and 3 separate Russian entities that are facing charges related to the Mueller investigation. That's a lot. I want to bring in my legal panel again to weigh in on this. Midwin Charles, an attorney for the law firm Midwin Charles & Associates. Glenn Kirshner, a former federal prosecutor. Glenn, the president continues to tweet. A large number of counts, 10, could not even be decided in the Paul Manafort case. Witch hunt. Does the president have a point here? You got 10 counts that Manafort wasn't found guilty of.
No, he doesn't have a point, Stephanie, because, listen, particularly in these white-collar cases, they're complex, they are document-intensive, there are a lot of technicalities. It's not unusual for a jury to sort of split the baby and return guilty verdicts on some. And let's remember, they didn't exonerate. They didn't find Paul Manafort not guilty of anything. They merely hung. That could be 11 jurors voting to convict and 1 juror as a holdout. We don't know, and frankly, it doesn't matter, because Paul Manafort will be sentenced on those 8 felony counts. And the other 10 counts, that information can be used as relevant conduct to enhance his sentencing in any event. And one more thing.
Oh, yes?
Go ahead.
No, you.
So one more thing. Let's remember, those 10 hung jury verdicts, they could be retried. So Paul Manafort, at this moment, is still facing 2 trials, and I suspect he's going to be on the receiving end of a hat trick. 3 indictments once Bob Mueller returns a conspiracy indictment.
But Glenn, what does this tell you about our legal system? People who looked at this case and the hundreds of pieces of evidence said this is the most egregious, open and shut case of fraud. Yet, if he wasn't tied to the president, if there wasn't Robert Mueller and millions of dollars spent on an investigation like this, nobody would have noticed this would have happened. Nobody would have noticed Michael Cohen. On some level, isn't this a message to fraudsters out there? You know, carry on.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of people, after retiring after 30 years as a federal prosecutor, I've had a lot of people ask me, why is it that there seems to be this unchecked illegality in certain segments of the business community, the real estate community? My answer, Stephanie, is that, the federal government, believe it or not, has limited resources, and prosecutors have their hands full going after killers and rapists, and I mean the worst of the worst. If we could get around to investigating every illegal business deal in New York or elsewhere, we would probably have to quadruple the cadre of prosecutors.
I get that. It's just stunning to me. It's like a message to money launderers. Just keep a low profile and carry on. All right, Midwin, President Trump hooking my team up today. Apparently he's writing our show. And he tweeted this: Michael Cohen pled guilty to 2 counts of campaign finance violations that are not a crime. President Obama had a big campaign finance violation, and it was easily settled. Okay, tell me what he's talking about, and are we holding Trump to a different standard?
I don't know what he's talking about, but you know what? We are holding Trump to a different standard. There are a whole bunch of things that he has done from the time he announced his candidacy that we know is different from the standard at which we held President Barack Obama. We know that President Barack Obama would.
You mean the outrage over a tan suit?
Over everything. A tan suit, 3 wives, 2 porn stars. I mean, the list is endless. 20-something odd women accusing him of sexual assault, the Access Hollywood tape, saying that a federal judge could not be truthful and honest because of his heritage. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So, yes, we are holding Trump to a different standard. And I think the country is going to be hurting for a long time as a result. Not only are we holding him to a different standard, we also have a Congress that refused to hold him accountable, that has abdicated their responsibility in terms of checking him and all the things that he has done thus far.
Glenn, looking at all of these indictments, does it look like a case that is starting to wrap up or a case that's growing? Because I can't tell.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did a good run-up, and you highlighted everybody who has already pled guilty. I mean, or been convicted. Who's left? Well, who's left is Roger Stone, Jared Kushner, Don Jr., and the president himself. I do think it's wrapping up. I think, do we hold the president to a different standard? Maybe. But what I can say is Bob Mueller is going to hold him to one standard, and it's the rule of law. And I have to believe that Bob Mueller will try to avail himself of the narrow pathway to indicting a sitting president. And if the evidence is there, I do think Bob Mueller will try to return an indictment against the president, but only time will tell.
Michael Flynn, every time we say his name, I remember when I interviewed him and pressed him about Russia, and he scolded me like I was a little girl. I think he said, "Shame on me." No, Michael Flynn, shame on you. Up next, it is not just the president's inner circle in legal trouble. Another early endorser of President Trump indicted. We're going to tell you about those charges that Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter is now facing.
Hello, window designs. They're tested from -40 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit and subjected to wind-driven rain. They're even engineered to stop hurricane debris from penetrating your home. All with distinctive style that goes beyond the ordinary. Hello, windows and doors. Perfectly beautiful.
For myself and you, I know this love is true. And I'll never let you go. First,
Elite Singles, the leading dating site for highly educated singles. Register today to love again at EliteSingles.com.
Hi, I'm Joe